I didn't want to pass this by without diving further into the name I mentioned earlier either. You're working in the Omni, which is a pretty legendary building, and you've got a legendary opponent with Bob Armstrong, who's the patriarch of the Armstrong wrestling family. Would this period have been the first time that you would cross paths with Bob?
Well, I had met Bob Armstrong. I mean, of course, like through actually, meeting the boys, and the sons who came up. And by the way, the sons, uh, you know, did well.
Hmm.
They took their father's name and lived up to the legacy. But yeah, I didn't, and I knew of Bullet Bob Armstrong before I met him because, he's just one of those for that generation was one of the icons.
Well, if you remember, Bob had been in a weightlifting accident and had his nose essentially torn off his face. He needed plastic surgery. It cost him like 30 grand or something, which is
Yeah,
a whole lot of money back then.
yeah.
And that's why he would end up working under a mask for a while. Here in Georgia, it was turned into a storyline during this time, and with the story being that you're the one who caused him to get the plastic surgery. And Ted, I've seen an internet rumor that you were actually there when Bob lost his nose and maybe even accidentally caused it to happen. So, can you clear up that internet rumor? Were you actually involved?
No, that's I was nowhere near near that that accident. The accident, the accident happened. It was a weightlifting accident.
Hmm.
Where the bar slipped out of his hand and it fell on his face,
Yeah.
and that's what happened. And I was, I wasn't no, I wasn't there.
It's really funny because as I was doing research for this, I was like, I saw that rumor out there on online. I can't remember. It was like some message board or something, and somebody was saying that. I was like, "There's no way," but other people were like corroborating it. That like, yeah, I think Ted was there and may have bumped into the weight bench by accident, causing him to lose his grip. And
No,
I was like,
no,
that just doesn't sound
no,
accurate to me.
no.
Okay.
That's just fans, that again, let's bury the heel as much as we can.
No wonder everybody back, back in those days was pissed. They were like, "Well, here's this guy who he actually did hurt Bob." So,
No,
I guess it's good
no.
heat. What was it like working with an old timer like Bob? Did you have to adjust your style at all?
No. I mean, gosh, I mean, it's kind of like we call it doing the dance, and um, well, Dick Murdoch was not that much older than me, but I mean, and again, a tremendous wrestler. It was Murdoch who actually got me booked with Bill Watts. When Murdoch just said he says I'm going to work for Bill Watts in the Mid South Wrestling, and he says, "Hey kid," he says, "if you want," he says, maybe this would be a good time to get your feet wet and see if you really want to do this. And if you do, I think I can get you booked. And he did with Bill. And so the summer of '75 is when I actually started, and I, opening match every night, but the guy across the ring was a veteran, and of course, me loving the business the way I do. I mean, I didn't just wrestle and get in the car and go on. I watched all the matches. I
Mm.
especially watched the guys in the main event because those are the guys drawing the money.
So it sounds like, working with a guy like Bob would have been a really easy transition for you because you had learned how to work in the first place from guys from his
Well,
similar
yeah, and
generation.
and 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 guys like Bob, again, guys like Bob would be there to, talk you through it. Uh, that's like a lot of people don't know that, but we talk to each other out there all the time. Yeah, it's like a lot of times it's funny some of the things you do. Like, I might be laying on my back and the guy's got my arm, and he's looking at the referee who's right there, but he's talking to me.
Ah,
As far as the crowd is concerned, he's telling the referee something, and he might be saying, "Okay, Ted, I'm going to back you into the corner, and I'm going to go to turnbuckle. You reverse the turnbuckle and backdrop me coming out, and then you go and do it." There's ways to hide it, and that's part of the business.